No travel video today. We've been really busy. We've got some projects going on. You may hear some pounding, but I thought I'd do an update on our plans for the coming year, answer some questions that have come up over the last several weeks, and also talk about trying to find balance with this YouTube channel and my life. I usually try to answer questions in the comment section, but one viewer, I think his name is Clark, had a long list of questions that I thought it would be easier just to do a video and answer them. And let's see, the first question he had was about the film that we put on the inside of our van windshield and driver and passenger side. He asked if the film goes on the inside or the outside. It goes on the inside of the van. He asked if it helps with security because you may have seen other videos where they talk about putting a film on that keeps people from being able to smash into a van. Of course, nothing does that completely. It just probably gives you a little bit of time when you hear somebody start banging on your glass. But there is a big downside to that, and that is that if it's harder to get in, it's also harder to get out. So if you had an emergency come up, it might be a challenge to get out of your van in a hurry. And then the other one, I asked our film guy about what he thought of that security film, and he said that he's seen that it yellows. I couldn't find any information online about that, but if you have any experience with that film and you've seen it degrade, please let us know. He also asked what regions in the country have we not explored and which ones would we like to go back and explore more. I would say that we've been to every state, and of course you can't possibly explore every corner of this country. You can only you do a drive-by. Even though you may spend a week or two in one area, it's still you're really only scratching the surface. And we have certainly found that in the West, where we return time and time again to certain places. For example, Anza Borrego. And every time we go, we find new things. It's almost like the more you know about an area, the more you find. And so I've really enjoyed going back to places like Anza Borrego, learning more about the history and finding those new biking and hiking trails. It just makes it feel like it's yours. One of the areas we would definitely like to go back to is Alaska. We'll do it probably a little bit differently. We won't go to Denali. We'll probably stay down in maybe Kenai Peninsula, some of the lower areas. Obviously, Canada is absolutely gorgeous. We love Canada. We'll definitely be going back. The East Coast is fine, and I grew up in Cincinnati in Pennsylvania, but we like the big sky country. We like the dry air. We like the plenty of dispersed camping spots. We don't want to fight for a campground or, feel like we're going to be, we're going to have somebody knock on the window at the middle of the night because we're camped someplace we shouldn't be. So we will, going forward, we'll probably always stick more to the West than to the East. But we will definitely be going back there again. We got to pick up our van in New Jersey. And I have my mom's side of the family is all in Alabama. So, one of these days we're going to get back there again. But, most of our travel and most of what we want to do is here on the West Coast. His next question had to do with what our plans were this winter. And that kind of leads into an update and what our plans are. So he wanted to know whether we're going to be venturing far during the winter months. And we're going to take short trips over, January, February, but in March, we'll be heading toward Texas to do the solar eclipse. And my niece lives in Austin, so that's where we will be staying. And we obviously will explore more of that area and also maybe get down to Big Bend. We really like Big Bend and, more of the Southwest. So depending on the weather, if it's not too hot. Then we will very likely return home and get ready for our longer summer trip to pick up our van and do some larger cycling trips. We have really enjoyed our new Specialized Levo SL bikes. The SL stands for super light. They weigh about 42 pounds. And we would love to do more Rails to Trails. There's a Rails to Trails is supposed to be like one of the most popular in the country. And we want to do that one. We're not sure if we'll do it in the spring, depending on the weather, or we'll do it on our return from the East Coast. But then it might be too hot. So our goal is to do it early before it gets too hot. We plan to return to Badlands because our friends are working at the national park again this year. So we'll stop there on our way toward South Dakota and the bike rides and that sort of thing. And then I would love to do one of the major bike trails back in the east. Someone said there's one that has a train involved, so you ride one way and you can take the train back, because it can be a little challenging with how do you work it out with your bikes and getting them returned to your vehicle. So all these things, are going to take a little bit of planning, but our plan is to do a lot of cycling this year. And then of course, we got to pick up our new rig, and we're going to stay in that area so we can kind of work out any bugs, figure it all out before we head back to the West Coast. Our route out there we'll go north because I want to see family up in Washington, and then we'll head east. Maybe, I don't know if we'll go through Canada coming or going, but we do like to kind of cut off some of that area around Chicagoland by going through Canada and seeing some of our friends up in Canada. I thought I'd talk about something from last week's video, which is e-bike riding on trails and whether they're allowed or not allowed. One of the commenters had a lot of background information on the loop, and it's a little challenging sometimes to find out whether e-bikes are allowed on certain trails. The state of Arizona has adopted a similar law regarding e-bikes as California has. I think there are probably 7 or 8 states that now have classified e-bikes, class 1 and class 2 e-bikes, as non-motorized vehicles. But they also allow local jurisdictions to restrict e-bikes altogether if they want to. And so on the Tucson Trail, the one that's called the Huckleberry Loop, that one some of it says you can't ride with an e-bike, and that is the part that's in the Pima County, but the part that's in Tucson, you are allowed to. So, and the reason, according to this viewer, is because Chuck Huckleberry himself did not like e-bikes, and so that's probably why it got restricted. But, maybe down the road, they will not be quite so narrow-minded. It would be really nice if more people experienced e-bikes so they would understand it's not something to be afraid of. And I'm not talking about class 3 bikes that are more like motorcycles. These are class 1 and class 2 e-bikes. Class 1 has no throttle, it's just an assist, and class 2 has a throttle. You can use it either way. So it's nice, especially for older people who are becoming more mobility challenged and need a little bit of assist, but it's just great. At least out here in the West, we see so many more people riding e-bikes. However, it also means that a lot of people are becoming really angry at those who misuse them. And a lot of the people who misuse them are teenagers. Teenagers will be teenagers. Enough said. So the best thing to do if you want to find out what a state's e-bike laws are, you really should go to the state, just, Google it. Just, does Arizona allow e-bikes on trails, or, whatever, you can figure it out. And then you can get down into the nitty gritty. And sometimes, of course, you have to go even deeper. Now, with regard to the Huckleberry Loop, it is really difficult to figure it out because in their guidelines, and they have guidelines posted on their website, they don't say no e-bikes. It makes a motorized distinction, but Arizona doesn't classify a class 1 or 2 bike as a motorized vehicle. So it's confusing. I don't think anybody's going to get in trouble. We saw lots of e-bikes out on the trails. In fact, I would say half of the riders were riding e-bikes, whether class 1 or class 2. I don't know what it's like on weekends because we usually try to avoid areas like that on weekends. But during the week, on a beautiful day, it was, sparsely ridden, but plenty of e-bikes. Another question that Clark had was whether we had upgraded the battery system in our van. We have 2 100 amp hour lithium batteries. And the answer is no. Even though we replaced the refrigerator that came with the van, which was a 3-way, we replaced it with a condenser refrigerator, a marine grade, an isotherm. And we still found we had plenty of power and didn't need to do anything with the batteries. Now, if you want to run an air conditioner unit, then definitely. And if you want to have all your cooking done by electricity, then definitely you would want to do that. But we have not found the need, especially the way we travel, where we're moving all the time, that we just haven't needed it. The 200 amp hours of solar on the roof has been plenty, and the batteries have also been plenty. However, I use a lot of power on my laptop and other devices when I'm editing. And so rather than having to turn on an inverter, we have a small battery now made by Anchor. It's, I think, 75 amp hours, something like that. And that is really nice. I can set it between the seats when we're driving and plug right in. I don't have to turn on the inverter on the battery. I can just run it off of the C2C line. And that has been really nice to have. We also have another battery that we bought before this one that has a standalone solar panel. You may have seen it on one of our other trips. And so we're kind of debating before we go to Death Valley, because we will be taking our bikes, whether we should take that one because it has a solar panel. We could set it out to help charge our bike batteries, or we will just, forget about it. And if we run out of power, we run out of power. I think that was all the questions I wanted to answer. It's probably not, but that's all I can think of right now, except for talking about balance. I have been making videos now for over 5 years. I don't know how many I have up on my thing, couple hundred, over 200 videos on my channel. And I've been noticing a lot of the channels that I watch, people are getting really tired. Maybe we all started at the same time, but they are all kind of, there's one that I watched recently, a guy named Matty, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. He's Finnish, who something or other. Anyway, I'll put his name on the screen. And he's actually quitting. You might have seen Kara and Nate in their most recent video where they talked about balance, and they're taking 6 weeks off. And then they're going to come back and do 3 videos a month. And this is something I've been thinking about for a very long time, because I have so many other things I want to do. And especially during the winter months when we're mostly at home, we're taking shorter trips, but then we're home and there's just lots to get caught up on. During the summer, it's not such a big deal. We're on the road driving. I can edit while we're driving and that sort of thing. So don't be surprised if you see me take a break every once in a while, take a week off so I can work on other things or just feel like there's more balance in my life. I love doing the videos. I like the creative aspect of it, but I also know that I need to also take care of business. So that's something that's probably in the works. And speaking of that, we are going away for my birthday a week. I will not be able to upload a video out in Death Valley. So I will skip that week and take that week off. And then when we come back, I'll have another video for you. I just want to thank you guys for following along, for giving your comments, sharing information. In fact, speaking of sharing information, John is working on the spreadsheet and the map for the ice cream. So that will be coming. And I just love the feedback we get, the tips you guys give me. I try to keep track of all of them. It's a little challenging sometimes. I just recently bought a book so I can put all my notes in the book. So when we're in an area, I can say, oh, that person said we should do this or that or the other thing. So it's really helpful, and I hope that it helps you guys too. I know a lot of you read the comments, and you probably are doing the same thing I am, where you're writing down tips that people share. Keep sharing. Love to hear it, and we hope to meet you guys on the road. Thanks for watching.